Hello.
Hello, yes.
Hi. So we'll look at the exercise for chapter 15 and then we'll go to chapter 16. So that is the plan for the class. So let's look at questions in the exercise. So 15.1, I think you would have gotten it. You understood 15.1?
Yeah, actually, I still have a doubt.
Okay, okay. If m and n are integers, you have to, with GCD, m of mn is 1. You have to prove that sigma of mn is equal to sigma of m multiplied by sigma of n. Okay, so the first thing to understand here is what is the sigma function. Obviously, sigma function means sum of all the divisors of the function, right, of the number, right,
Yeah,
including 1 and m, including 1 and m. Okay, so we have to find out. Yeah, it includes 1 and m, no? Yeah, correct.
yeah,
So we have to prove that sigma of mn is equal to sigma of m multiplied by sigma of n if m and n are two integers with no common factors, right?
yeah,
So let's say m is an integer and it has these factors p1, p2, prime factors I'm writing, pk, okay? And let's say n is an integer, it is supposed to have no common factors, so I have to write different factors here, right?
yeah,
Different prime factors. So q1, q2, let's say qr, right? Okay. So now these are the m and the n which have no common factors right now. So product mn, if you think of, is just simply p1, p2, so on, pk, q1, q2, and qr, right?
yeah.
Now think about it. What is the value of sigma of m here? Sigma of m here would be what? Each of the divisors you have to get, right?
Yeah.
So mm, think about it. How will you write the divisors? You have to basically write p1 plus p2 plus so on till pk will be there, and then product of two at a time, right?
Yeah,
p1 pk plus product three at a time and so on, right?
yeah,
p1 p2 p3 and so on till you get the product of all at a time, right?
yeah,
Which is the number itself, right? And
yeah,
sigma n would be similar terms, sum of one at a time plus sum of two at a time and so on, right?
yeah,
Of all of these, right? Now I want to prove that sigma of mn is the product of these two things, right?
yeah,
So sigma of mn is the product of this and product of this. Okay, so let's think about it. Maybe we have gone a little wrong here. Oh, I think it will be convenient if you not write the prime factors, but write in terms of divisors. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Let because right now so many prime factors are there. No? It will be hard to prove anything about this, right?
yeah,
Because now I'll have to do the same thing here, sum of all the factors, right? One at a time,
yeah,
which will include P also and Q also, and then again sum of two at a time and all. So I will not work like this. Rather, what I will do is I will say let M have divisors D1, D2 till DR, right?
yeah,
And let N have divisors Q1, Q2 till QS, let's say. These are not prime numbers, these are divisors, actual divisors. Okay.
yeah,
So obviously I know sigma of m is equal to d1 plus d2 till dr, right? and sigma of n is equal to q1 plus q2 till qs, right? Correct.
Yeah.
And now it is slightly easier because if you think about it, the number mn, right? There is nothing common between the divisors of these, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get new divisors of the product of the two numbers? You have to multiply each of them, right? Like this.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is new divisors will be like this: d1 q1, d1 q2 till d1 qs, then d2 q1, d2 q2 till d2 qs, right? And so on till you do dr q1 plus, not plus, dr q1, dr q2 until dr qs, right?
Yeah.
There cannot be any other divisors, no? Think about it, any mn, if they have no common, there are no common numbers between them, right? Except one.
Yeah.
One is the only common divisor.
Yeah.
So the divisors of the product will be, you keep taking combinations of these, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Are you understanding that there can be nothing else other than this?
Yeah.
No new divisor you can construct now after this point. Okay. So yeah, makes sense. Because if you take two at a time, more than two at a time, no, the product will be greater than mn.
Yeah.
You cannot do d1, q2, d3. Okay. The product will have more powers of prime numbers than m and n themselves had. Like
Yeah.
something will go wrong there. You understand?
Yeah.
So now it is very easy to see sum of mn is equal to, as soon as you do the sum of all of these divisors, right? You will notice that you can take d1 common, q1 till qs, right?
Yeah.
Plus similarly d2 common, q1 till qs, right?
Yeah.
And so on, you can do till plus dr common, q1 till qs, right?
Yeah.
So then you can just write it as d1 plus d2 till dr common and then q1 to qs.
Yeah.
And that will be your sigma m and sigma n. You understand?
Yeah.
So earlier when I was writing prime number factors. That would be very hard to prove because prime numbers, you'll have to keep combining them in different ways, right?
Yeah.
So instead of doing prime numbers, just list out the divisors and list out the divisors of this and try to construct new divisors of mn, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was this one. Then the next one, 15.2, I think is fine, right?
Yeah. It is easy.
Because 15.2 will use the property that for a prime number, like this, p power k, it will be
Yeah.
p power
PK plus one.
k plus 1 minus 1 by p
Yeah.
minus 1. And then you have to use the property that we just now saw.
Yeah.
It is sigma mn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as m and n have no common factors, have no common factors. So
Yeah.
for using that, you will be able to find your three values of sigma 10 and so on, right?
Yeah. Composite ones. Yeah.
15.3. So the first part says, show that a power of 3, cannot be a perfect number. Power of 3 can't be a perfect number. So you need to understand what a perfect number is. Perfect number is any number where
One.
sigma of n is equal to 2n.
Yeah.
So basically you have to prove that sigma of 3 power k cannot be 2 into 3 power k, right?
Yeah.
If you can prove this, then it is done, right?
Okay.
And sigma of 3 power k you can write, no? Sigma of 3 power k will be 3 power
3K plus.
k plus 1 minus 1 by 3 minus 1, right?
Yeah.
So this will be 3 power k plus 1 minus 1 by 2, right?
Yeah.
let's assume that it is equal to 2 power. It is a perfect number, right?
Yeah.
That it is a perfect number, so that we can get a contradiction. So then you will have 3 power k plus 1 minus 1 by 2 is equal to 2 into 3 power k, right?
Yeah.
So you get 3 power k plus 1 minus 1 is equal to 4 into 3 power k, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is 3 into 3 per k.
Which one is 3? This is 3 into 3 per k. Okay, 3 into 3 per k minus 1 is equal to 4 into 3 per k. Now you get, obviously wrong, right?
Yeah,
3
minus
per
1.
k is equal to minus 1 is coming. It's a obvious contradiction if k is an integer, right?
Yeah.
So this is not possible then, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Because we are getting a clear contradiction. Let's look at B. B part is trying to tell you that if P is an odd prime, show that a power P power K can never be a perfect number. So more general case, so sigma of P power K will be equal to P power K plus 1 minus 1 by P minus 1 and is equal to 2 into sigma 2 into P power K,
2 bar. Yeah.
right? So we want to get a contradiction from here, right? We are looking for a contradiction because we have assumed that it is a perfect number, right? So P power K plus 1 minus 1 is equal to 2 into P power K plus 1 minus 2 into P power K, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And simplifying it a little bit, 2 P power K minus 1 is equal to P power K plus 1, right?
Yeah.
Bringing this to that side and this to this side, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the contradiction is clear because this is even, this is odd. This is even minus an odd. Okay,
Yeah.
there is no contradiction. 1 second. I was thinking that there is a contradiction. When this can be written as P into P power K, right?
Yeah.
So then let's write it at 2 minus P into P power K is equal to 1, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Now this can happen. Is it ever going to happen? 1 second. I don't think this can ever happen. This basically means P minus 2 into P power K is equal to minus 1. No?
Yeah.
This is totally weird, right? First of
Yeah.
all, if he's saying P is an odd prime, then P is greater than 2, right?
Yeah. This is not
So
possible.
this side is positive, right? And this side is negative.
Yeah.
So this is an obvious contradiction again. So it is not possible, right?
Yeah. I did it another way actually.
How?
Like I did it like P K plus 1 minus 1 is smaller than P K plus 1 by P minus 1. Like without the minus
P,
1.
P K. Okay, so you can say that P power K plus 1 minus 1 by P minus 1 is less than P power K plus 1 by P minus 1, correct?
Yeah. And then we can take out the P and then P by P minus 1 is less than 2 for every number greater than 2.
Wait, where do you take out the P? From here.
From the right side. P into P by P minus 1. I mean P power K into P by P minus 1.
P by P minus 1. So this is basically
Always less than 2
it is always less than 2
for odd
because obviously it is just 1 point something, right? It will not be like,
prime.
yeah. So it will never be equal to 2 into P per K.
Yeah.
Both of them are similar things only. Here also you are getting some impossibility. Here also we are getting some impossibility, right? So
Yeah.
similarly, try C, D and all. I think the idea is clear, right?
Yeah.
The idea is clear that you have to prove that sigma of something cannot be 2 into n, right?
Yeah.
To prove all these types of questions. So let's look at 15.5 then. Okay.
Yeah.
15.5. It is saying prove that a square number square number can never be a perfect number, can never be a perfect number. Okay, so some n square and all, right?
Yeah.
So we have some n square type of number, and we have to prove that it is not possible for it to be a perfect number. So the idea would be, let's look at n, and n will be some prime factorization it will have, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So n, let's say n is p1 to the power k1, p2 to the power k2 till pr to the power kr, right?
Yeah.
So n square becomes p1 to the power 2k1,
Yeah.
p2 to the power 2k2, and so on, pr to the power 2kr, right?
Yeah.
Now we have to prove something for n square. So sigma of n square will be, none of these have common factors. So we can just write product of p1 2k1 multiplied by p2 2k2, right?
Yeah.
None of these have common factors. That's why we can split it as different products, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's calculate each of these. So this will simply be p1 2k1 plus 1 minus 1 by p1 minus 1, right?
Yeah.
And similarly, this will be p2 2k plus 1 2k2 plus 1 minus 1 by p2 minus 1, right? And so on, right?
Yeah.
And this side is supposed to be what? It's supposed to be 2n square,
Yeah.
right? This side is supposed to be 2n square. We should get some contradiction. Okay. So, okay. So if, let me think, odd.
I did it another way actually.
What way?
Like I took it like completely as n square, like n square, like the sigma n square is equal to n cube minus 1 by n minus 1. Then I factorized it.
Wait 1 second. Sigma n square, how can you find?
Like sigma n square can be written, right?
Sigma n square, how you find? No, you have to split it as prime factors only. No, what else can you do?
Okay, yeah. I thought it was an prime
Ah,
number itself.
you can't, no, because otherwise you cannot directly find sigma, no.
Yeah.
For a normal number, you don't have formulas. You have formulas only for prime numbers, right?
Yeah.
So you have to do it like this only. But let's think about these factors a little bit. Okay. So if you know,
We
anytime you
can
have
factorize it.
exactly. So this can be written as 1 plus x square till x power 4,
Yeah.
right? Here also it is like that only, no, 2k plus 1 it is, right? So this is
Yeah.
the even number and extra 1 power, and you are dividing by that factor, right? So you will go up till 2k, right? Here 2k1, right?
So
So
this will always be odd, right? The right hand side.
exactly. So we have to check whether it is always odd even types things. Okay. So this side, if you see 1 plus x plus x, 1 plus p1 plus, think about it, 1 plus p1 till p1 to the power
Yeah.
2k1, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Now what happens is, and similarly for all other factors also, right?
Yeah.
So now there are two cases that you should think of where P1, P2 till Pk are not 2. None of these is 2, right?
Yeah.
Then they will all be odd, right? They will all be odd because these are prime numbers, right? And 2 is
Yeah.
the only even prime. So if they are all odd, this is odd, everything is odd, and there are till here there are how many terms? Okay,
Even term, right? So
uh,
even if it is even, then also it will plus 1 is odd. So
it is even terms. So this part is even, and even plus 1 is odd, right?
yeah.
And odd into odd will always be odd, right?
Yeah.
So then this is wrong in that case, right?
Yeah.
Let's take the case that one of them was 2, right?
Yeah.
So one of them was 2, the other ones are not 2. So other ones are still odd and one of them is 2, right? If it
Yeah.
is 2, then everything till here is even, right?
Yeah. Then even plus one
Plus
is odd.
1 is odd. So still odd, right?
Yeah, still.
So overall thing is still odd and the RH left hand side is even, right?
Yeah.
So that is a clear contradiction. So again, we are not getting that it can be a perfect number, right?
Yeah.
So this one is done. Then 15.6 is talking about some new type of definition he has created for product perfect, right?
Yeah.
So he's saying in 15.6 that a number, a perfect number, if you look at product instead of sum, we could say that a number is product perfect if the product of all its divisors other than itself is equal to the original number, right?
Yeah.
Examples he gives is 6 and 15. So for 6, the divisors are 1, 2, and 3 except itself. So product of 1 and 2 and 3 is equal to 6. For this, the divisors are 1, 3, 5. And product of 1 and 3 and 5 is 15, right? So these are all proper divisors you have to take. You cannot include the number itself, right?
Yeah.
So he's asking you first to list some product, all the product perfect numbers from 2 to 50. You can just do a few and see if you are able to spot them.
Yeah.
So,
There are only 3 factors, right? Excluding the number itself.
Excluding
So
the
there
number
are
itself.
4 total factors that can be formed if it's a cube or it is a product of only 2 factors, only 2 prime factors.
Wait, what? There are 4 factors, isn't it?
Yeah, 4 factors.
No,
Right?
you have to search between numbers 2 to 50 and you have to figure out which numbers are product perfect, right?
Yeah, only those are which have 4 factors, including the number itself.
Why is that supposed to be true?
Because because I like that only I figured it out. Yeah, I observed the pattern actually.
But I don't think that that is necessary because this is just because the numbers were small, we were getting this. No, think about 8, for example. Okay, 8 is fitting that pattern.
Yeah, it's a cube, that's why.
1, 2, 4. Okay.
Yes.
We will find some other numbers. Wait. 21, let's see.
Yeah, 7 into 3.
So 173, that is fitting this pattern. You are saying it has to have only 3 other divisors.
Yeah, so it can be either a cube or a product of 2 distinct prime numbers.
26, 2 into 13, 1 to 13. Okay. Okay, maybe it is correct. 34 is coming in.
17 into 2.
1 to 17. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought, why are you getting this idea? Because in the second question, he's asking you to describe them, right?
Yeah.
In the second part, he's asking you to describe this, right? So B is saying describe, find a product perfect number. Your description should be fine. So, okay. So a product perfect number is either a product of 2 distinct primes or it's a cube, p cube of a prime, right? If it's a cube of a prime, p cube type of number, what were the factors? 1, p, and p square, right?
Yeah.
So 1p p square will multiply to give this. Okay, makes sense. Correct. So that is part B only. Now, proving will be slightly hard. Prove that. Right. You have to prove your description is correct, right?
Yeah, that will be hard.
Have you tried?
No.
Okay. So try to prove this then. Let me think once. Okay, so let's try to prove the first statement that the M number has to be a product of 2 primes, right? Let's prove that case first, then we'll worry about the cube one, right? So let's say M has 2 or more prime factors, right? 2 or more prime factors. So you are saying anyone that has 3 prime factors will not work, right?
No.
So why will it not work? Let's think about some numbers which have 3 prime factors. 3, 5, 7. So 15, 105, right?
Yeah.
So you are
Because
getting
there'll be repetition of prime factors
you
in
are
the
getting
product.
okay, because you are getting divisors like this, but also like 15 and 35, right?
Yeah.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
That this and this, when you get combinations, after that the multiplication becomes huge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that should be the idea of our proof somehow, right? Let's say M has 2 or more prime factors, right?
Yeah.
Then M is divisible by one second. So then M is divisible by M by P, right? And M by Q, because these
Yeah.
are factors, no? Right?
Yeah.
So M must be greater than equal to M by P into M by Q, right?
Yeah.
Product of the divisor, because we are assuming here that M is a product perfect number, right?
Yeah.
Product perfect number it is. So M is equal to the product of all divisors, right?
Yeah.
And this side, these are 2 divisors, right?
Yeah.
So M must be greater than equal to M by P and M by Q, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Because 2 divisors and that side is all divisors, right?
Yeah.
So M square by PQ, and M is greater than equal to M square by PQ, right?
Yeah.
So this gives us M is greater than equal to M square by PQ, and this cancel this M. So this gives us M is less than equal to PQ.
Yeah.
But we can do the opposite also. M is divisible clearly by P and Q, right?
Yeah.
So M must be greater than equal to PQ, no? If M is a product perfect number.
Yeah.
You understand? If M is a product perfect number, it is the product of all its divisors, right?
Yeah.
So you have a direct M is greater than equal to PQ.
Yeah.
And by this method, we can say 2 more divisors are M by P and M by Q, right? At least.
Yeah.
So we have a M less than equal to PQ from here. And combining these two, you know that M has to be equal to PQ, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
But it also works with cubes.
So for cubes, we have to do a separate type of, we have to think. Like let's say M is divisible by only 1 prime, right? So then M must be equal to P power K, right?
Yeah.
Instead of 2 primes, let's say M has only 1 prime in its prime factorization. So let's say M is equal to P power K, right?
Yeah.
Now the divisors are 1 P square till Pk, right? 1
Yeah.
P square till P power K, right? So now product of these must be equal to M, no?
Yeah.
Correct? So you have to have except P power K, all the products should be equal to, right?
Yes. This is
1
P
P
minus
square till P power K minus 1 should be equal to, actually just do the summation right now. It is
Yeah.
equal to 1 plus 2 till K minus 1, right? Is equal to P. This is first K minus 1 number. So K minus 1 into K by 2, right?
Yeah.
This should be equal to P power K, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So you should have K is equal to K minus 1 into K by 2, right?
Yeah.
So you have K is equal to 3.
Yeah.
Nothing else will fit,
Yeah.
right? 0 will fit, but 0 will make it 1, right?
Yeah, it is not defined for 0.
Yeah. So if M has only one prime, then let's assume like this and prove that it has to be 3. And if M has 2 or more prime factors, we just prove that M must be equal to PQ. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is 15.6. Now 15.8, have you tried?
The 15.8. Only some parts I tried, I guess. Only C and D.
Okay. Okay, 15.8, let's park it for now. We'll go look at it later. Try once the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
We will go on to the next chapter now. I want to do the theory there. That is a very interesting chapter because in this chapter you will learn how to calculate huge powers of numbers. Okay. So powers modulo M. So basically this is the chapter that will help you solve many weird type of questions that you might see in some exams and all, where if someone asks you find the last digit in something, right? Weird. Or right now, what we will look at as an example in this book is 7 power 327 mod 853. Find this value, right? Now this is a very like weird question in the sense that there is no easy way to do it, right?
Yeah.
There is no, we are going to learn the general way to solve such problems, okay? So anytime we have any power that we need, mod of something, any modulo, right? Powers modulo M, right? We are
Yeah.
trying to find the value. So we will look at it through this example that he talks about here. What we are going to use throughout this is Euler's theorem, okay?
Yeah.
So Euler's theorem was what? A power
5M.
phi of M is equal to 1 mod M.
Yeah.
Right? As long as A and M have GCD 1.
Yeah.
As long as GCD A and M is 1, then this theorem is true, right? And a Fermat's theorem also was there, but that is not so useful because you don't always have primes here, right?
Yeah.
Fermat's theorem was AP minus 1 is equal to 1 mod P, right?
Yeah.
But you don't always have prime numbers here. So this is more powerful and more useful. And that is the idea that we'll use here. Okay. So what he says is the first step is to create a table of values of 7 square, 7 power 4, mod 853. Okay. So values of the method that we are learning here is called the method of successive squares. Okay. So what are we doing here? That is step 1. Step 1 is basically find out 7 power 1 is equal to what mod 853, right? So it is clearly 7 mod 853, right? Then 7 square, basically create a table of successive squares of 7 and mod 853, right?
Yeah.
7 square is clearly 49 mod 853, right? Right, no?
Yeah.
Now 7 power 4 you can do in multiple ways. You know already that 7 square is 49, right? So 7 power 4 will be 49 square mod 853, right?
Yeah.
Right. So 49 square is 2401, and he has made that table for you. If you refer to the book, he has made that table. It is 695 mod 853, right? Correct.
Yeah.
This is just a series of calculations, right? In each step, you are doing some calculation. And 7 power, for example, next higher power, right? 8 square, right?
Yeah.
That will be,
Total.
don't do 7 power this square, do this square, right?
Yeah.
Understand? Because it is modulo 853, it is the same thing, no? So if you do this square also, it will give same modulo, no?
Yeah.
So do 695 square and calculate the value of that modulo 853, which comes out to be 227. Okay.
Yeah.
You can use a calculator while doing these types of calculations. Then again, 7 power 16 will become 227 square, whatever is comes modulo 853, right?
Yeah.
And that comes out to be 349. So basically, the process is simple. You are taking whatever power you are supposed to find, right? You are building up your table of its successive powers of 2 modulo whatever you have to find, right?
Yeah.
So that is the first step. Then the second step is very simple. Right here it was 7 power 327, right? Is equal to what? Basically, you have to find 7 power 327 mod 853, right? So you have already constructed your powers of 7 successive squares of 7 mod 853, right?
Yeah.
This table you have constructed in the first step. Now what you look at is the exponent part here. Okay. So exponent part here is also going to be now written as successive powers of 2. Okay. So the highest power of 2 will be 256, 2 power 8, right?
Yeah.
Then 256 will have 44 plus 27, so 71. So I'll add plus 64 and it will be plus 7, right? So plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, right?
Yeah.
So I'm expressing any number as sum of powers of 2 here also, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So now 7 to the power 327 can now be written as 7 power 256, 7 power 64, 7 power 4, 7 power 2, 7 power 1, right?
Yeah.
And now it is obvious why you constructed this table, right?
Yeah.
Because in this table, you know 7 power 1, 7 power 2, 7 power 4, 7 power 8, 7 power 16, right? Mod 853, right?
Yeah.
So this was 7, no? So this is equivalent to, now look at the table 256, what was the modulus value? It was 298, right?
Yeah. 298.
And then what was the modulus for 64? That was 123.
123.
And what was for 7 power 4? It was
695.
695. And what was for 7 square? It was 49.
497.
And it was 7 here, right?
Yeah.
And this is mod 853 now we are working, right?
Yeah.
So one way to now calculate it is do all the multiplications and then do the mod. But a better way would be do part multiplications and do mod in each step, right?
Yeah.
You understand? Like you can multiply 298 and 123 and do mod here. That will be something mod 853, right?
Yeah.
Then do 695 and 49. That will be something mod 853, and then 7 is 7, right?
Yeah.
Finally, the answer will come as 286 mod 853. Okay. So you are now suddenly aware of what is this 7. This is basically 286 mod 853, right? 7 power 327 would be whatever it is, it will be 286 if you divide it by 853, right? Remainder.
Yeah.
Now, now this method is very general and it can be used to find powers of very big numbers also. So in the first page itself, he's actually finding the power of 5 to the power 10 power, I don't know how many zeros are there, mod some very big number. Okay. You
Yeah.
understand? So on a computer, if you write a program, and he has written the algorithm also 16.1, right? The logic that we just saw, if you write a program for that logic, like you will easily be able to compute very high powers and mod of those, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes in problems, it is very useful because it can be a scary question. No, nobody expects you to be able to find this, right? Like for example, let's do an example to practice the method a little more. Let's do an example, 16.1 part A, right? 5
Yeah.
power 13 mod 23, right? We have to find, okay? So first step was construct the table for 5, right? Mod 23.
Yeah.
So 5 power 1 is 5 mod 23. 5 square is 2.
2. Yeah.
5 cube will be 115 is 523, 5 is a 115, so 10, right?
Yeah.
5 power 4. Oh wait, why am I doing 3 powers? I don't even have to do 3 powers, right?
Yeah.
I have to directly go to 4th power.
Oh,
So
yeah.
625 divided by 23, right? So if
Yeah.
you think, just calculate it quickly, 3 times it will be 2
But
times
we can do
what?
2 square 4, right?
2 square, yeah. We can do 2 square 4, right? So that
Yeah.
is correct. One
16.
sec. Then after that it will be 16, right?
Yeah.
1 second. Now let me just check if it is right. Yeah, it is right. 2 square 4, very easy. And 5 power 8 will be 16 mod 23. Now in 64 we'll have to find out, right?
Yeah.
64 we'll have to find out again. This will be 16 square, right?
Yeah.
So 256, and it will be 230 and 253 and 13, right?
Yeah.
But actually we don't even need that because the power is not very high, right?
Yeah.
So 13 can now be written as 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. No, 8 plus 4 plus 1,
8 plus 4 plus 1. Yeah.
right? So now 5 power 13 will therefore be 5 power 8 into 5 power 4 into 5 power 1, right?
Yes.
Mod 23 everything, right? So 5
Yeah.
power 8 is basically 16, 5 power 4 is 4, and 5 power 1 is 5, right? So this is clearly 4 5 is 320, and to find 320 mod 23.
Yeah.
So let's find that. That is 10, 230, and then 90. So 3. So it will be 69. So 21, right?
Yeah.
21 mod 23, right? That is the answer. Okay. So
Yeah.
very straightforward, but so very applicable, because I mean, there's no other way that you would have done this, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is going to be valid for any sort of number now. So part B also you can do. It is 28 power 749. Part B is 28 to the power 749 mod 1147, right? So
Yeah.
in part B, if we construct a table, right, 28 power 1 will be 28. 28 square is 784, right? So it is 784 only. 28 power 4 will come when you do 784 square and mod 1147, right?
Yeah.
I will just write the answer. You can use a calculator to find that. It is 1011. Okay.
Yeah.
Then 28 power 8 is 144. You can do how? You can do 1011 square, right?
Yeah.
And then do mod 1147. Okay. 28 power 8 is coming out to be 144. 28 power 16 is coming out to be 90. 16 is coming out to be 90. 28 power 32 is coming out to be basically 71. Okay. So I will stop here, and you know the process now what to do here also, right?
Yeah.
749 has to be written as powers of 2. So you'll start off with 512. Then you will say that 256 doesn't fit, right? So 128, right? So 512 plus 128 will be 640, right?
Yeah.
109 is left. So you will do 64, 36 and 9, 43 is left. So you'll do 32, then 11 is left. So 8, and then 3 is left. So this, right?
Yeah.
And basically you have to get these powers, right? So we have stopped at 132. We have to actually go till 128 or till 512, right?
Yeah.
It might be long, but that is necessary because the question only is very long, right? Correct.
Yeah.
But this is very useful method. You should know this. And this also helps us sometimes predict whether something is a prime or not, right? So suppose you are asked this question, 7 power 7386 mod 7387, right? Correct.
Yeah.
If this comes out to be 1 mod 7387, right?
Yeah.
Then by Fermat's theorem, right?
Yeah.
Fermat's theorem, 7387 should be prime, right?
Yeah.
Correct. 1 second, we have to confirm whether it is converse of Fermat's theorem or not. Okay,
I think
actually,
it is.
it is converse, so that is not true, right? We cannot conclude like that.
Yeah.
But what can be correct is that if this thing comes out to be anything not 1, right? If it comes out to be something not 1, right?
Yeah.
Then we know that 387 is not prime, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was prime, it had to come out to be 1, right?
Yeah.
Like if we find the answer and it comes to be not 1, right here, then for sure it is not prime, no? Because if it was prime, then Fermat's theorem is applicable here, no? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it was a prime, then Fermat's theorem a power p minus 1 mod p should be 1, right?
Yeah.
And if it did not be, it was not 1, that means that it is not prime, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes to find large numbers, like it is very hard to test a very large number and find out whether it is a prime number or not. Okay. Because if I give you a number which has 30 digits or something, right?
Yeah.
Right? Some big number. Okay. Testing it to be prime is actually a separate topic, and books are written on it. It's called primality testing. That primality testing thing is quite hard. Okay. However, writing a program to evaluate this 30-digit number and let's say uh, some power 7 power this number minus 1, right? Mod this, right?
Yeah.
By the algorithm that we have just learned, right?
Yeah.
Writing a program to evaluate it will immediately in 1 minute it will give you the answer for this modulus question, because you have a very set method to do it, right?
Yeah.
So if it gives you an answer that comes out to be not 1, right? Then by Fermat's theorem, you know that this is not prime, right?
Yeah.
Correct. If the answer comes out to be 1, it is not necessary that it is always prime, but it is likely that it is prime. Okay.
Yeah.
Matlab, the converse of Fermat's theorem is not always true, right?
Yeah.
So it may be likely that it is 1, but it is not necessary always. Okay.
Yeah.
It may be likely that it is prime. Okay. So that is what he's saying towards the end of the chapter. So what I want you to do is now just read through the chapter now. Okay. The algorithm and a little bit that he has mentioned here and why this method is useful, right? Just read through the chapter. Also, now you will be able to read through chapter number 17. Chapter number 17 is actually computing kth roots. Computing kth roots modulo m. So basically the opposite thing, right? So just now we are doing computing any power, kth powers modulo m, no? You understand?
Yeah.
Chapter 16 was about computing powers to modulo m. Now you are computing roots of modulo m, right?
Yeah.
So that also is a straightforward extension of the same method. The only thing that is added there is you have to solve a congruence in the beginning. You have to solve a congruence by the methods of chapter 6. We know how to solve congruences by Euclid's algorithm, right?
Yeah.
So we will have to first solve a congruence and then apply successive squaring method. The method that we have just now learned is called successive squaring. Okay.
Yeah.
So now chapter 17 will be readable and will be understandable. I want you to read it and tell me if you are getting everything there. Otherwise, we will discuss it in the next class. And I expect chapter 16, 17, read and try to solve the exercises. There are only 3-4 questions. Okay. So there's not a lot, but learn this theory very well. And I will do a class probably on the weekend also, one extra class we will do. Okay. Because I want to now I want to try and finish the number theory portions. Actually, we have done quite a lot. So maybe a few more topics we can cover. I will look at the topics and what is relevant from the Olympiad perspective. And then we will stop. And maybe we'll
Yeah.
come back to it a little bit later. Okay. So
Yeah.
I will just go through it and see what all we have to do. Maybe we'll do a little bit of the Diophantine equations and all. Okay. So there is a set of chapters towards the end of the book, which is solving many different types of equations. So maybe we'll do a little bit of that, but we are almost done with the basics. I don't think more than this is required for at least like till INMO level. Till INMO level, more than this theory is not required. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the next major chapter that will come is primality testing, Carmichael numbers, and I've never seen a Carmichael number question in any Olympiad, so it's unlikely. And after that, what we get is quadratic residues and reciprocity, which again only in IMO you see. Sometimes in IMO it has been asked, but mostly not. So theoretically, you should consider yourself right now already. You are almost done with the number theory that you need. Okay.
Yeah.
So you should start practicing PRMO, RMO questions and all. PRMO, RMO questions. You should look at past papers and try solving the number theory questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have past papers of PRMO, RMO and all?
Yeah, I guess I have.
You have it at home, no?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, fine. Then I will find and send you. Okay. I'll send you and you can start looking at the number theory portions of that exam. And that should help you get a better grip on the subjects that we have done so far also. So what I intend to do basically is maybe finish a few more topics. If I find something that is immediately applicable and we need to do it, I will do it. But soon we will start geometry. Okay. So we need to come to geometry because that is actually the most important section in your Olympiads.
Yeah.
So we should start geometry soon. Probably in 1 or 2 weeks I'll start geometry. Okay. So till then we'll have a class on Saturday or Sunday sometime. And till then finish chapter 17. Try to read through chapter 17 also. See if you have any problems and all and let me know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all for now then.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.